Okay, so you've all jumped in, you're in your third week of learning a language, and you're at the point where you've started to get lots of vocab and lots of different verbs, and thinking, how am I going to remember it? Well, memory is the key to success in learning an ancient language. And so you can see in your guides that we've handed out, we've got lots of different methods of how you might activate your own memory, and everyone learns in a different way. So hopefully you find something there that works for you. And so if we look at the sheet, first we have visual cues such as palm cards, which are easily transportable and a great way to learn the vocab. Writing is involved in the making of those palm cards, and writing is also a great way to stimulate your memory. And also, if you use colour to group things into meaningful blocks of nouns or verbs, that can also help your memory. Saying things out loud stimulates your auditory memory, and with complex words you can take it a step further and try to have some fun with it. So try to rhyme things with tricky words or come up with little jingles to help you remember the initial tricky word. And immerse yourself in the language. So having posters or post-it notes all around your room, so when you walk in, it's almost as if you're in the ancient world already. We had one person last year who literally decorated the room, like his bedroom, like a temple with just scripts everywhere, so you could get used to all the scripts. And testing yourself is a great way to consolidate what you know and find out what you don't know, and therefore what you might need to spend a little bit more time on before you get to tests and exams and revisions, things like that. And for maximum results, you can combine your methods. So say things out loud as you're starting to write things down and make all your palm cards, and use colours.
Palm cards?
Palm cards.
To get them from newsagents, Big W.
Yep. One of the best tools. And so when you're stuck in traffic or waiting for the train to come, you just whip out your palm cards and start memorising and start learning them. Does anybody else use any other methods?
I just thought of one. What about tape recorder?
Tape recorder.
Even some of the mobile phones now have got a, I think you can record something on the mobile.
Exactly. Just plug it in and listen to either yourself or somebody else talking about things. Music? Really?
It's so big.
You can always pair up with a friend and get them test each other. So, make friends with people here.
Yeah. Study
groups.
groups. Great way to do that.
Go back and forth, say, what's this word, what's this word?
Yeah. And I think you also mentioned there's a drip method. So if you learn a few new words every day for 6 days a week, you're slowly immersing yourself in the language.
Yeah, it's a method that comes into play with students. Once you're 19, 20 and older, you can't learn like you could in high school where you can just learn a list of 20 words at a time. So 5 a day is the way that our brain actually processes the information. So that way we learn. If you're taking Latin with Alana Nobbs, she'll tell you, I'm sure, numerous times. But yeah, 5 words a day, 4 days, 5 days a week.
You know that Abby's bookshop in the city's got a language. There's a language bookshop.
Yep, absolutely.
Go in there. I looked in there. There's some of the audio discs, probably literature spoken in.
Yeah, exactly. And you can also, speaking of Abby's, you can also make it fun. Yeah. So I think they have Harry Potter in Latin and Greek, so you can start to see how everything works in a text. I think they also have Peter Rabbit in hieroglyphs.
Yeah,
no joke. So you can have fun with it that way as well. The next. Yeah. And so you can see putting into effect some of those methods. So repetition, writing, and I suppose muscle memory as well, you could say. Okay, so now you've memorised all your vocabs, you know what verbs mean, but the next thing you need to know how they work, and you need to form meaningful patterns of verbs and words. You just need to be aware when you're learning different languages, especially there are some people who are doing Coptic, hieroglyphs, Latin all at the same time, but there are 2 different types of languages. You have your Indo-European languages like Greek and Latin, which will follow similar sort of rules and use similar sort of terms. And on the other hand, you have your Semitic languages like Hebrew or Egyptian. And they will each follow different patterns as well. So, for example, if you look on the board, In both Greek and Latin, words like nouns, adjectives and verbs can be broken down into two basic parts. So you have your stem, like woke or bind, and then you have your ending, us or ace. Now, a whole group of words with a similar stem can be learned together because they share a common set of grammatical endings. And the grouping of these words according to their endings is what's called conjugations for verbs and declensions for nouns. Have we heard this terminology before? Yeah. It's a bit different for Egyptian, as you can see. Because Egyptian is a Semitic language, the verbs are derived from a basic root, like sejen, and the endings of finite verbs are often expressed with a suffix pronoun. Not always, but majority of the time. So it's just a little bit different in the terminology. Like with all ancient languages, of course, there are going to be exceptions to all these rules, but if you can get in your head the basic patterns, then you have a solid platform that you can learn all the exceptions and all the irregular verbs, which you're bound to encounter in all the other languages as well. So things like tables and colour, to try to sort out all this information, is a really good technique to try to process everything.
Can I add something?
Yeah.
And I know that for like mature age students in the room, it might confront you as a challenge when you're first learning a language that the memory side is the major disadvantage for you guys, and you find your brain isn't absorbing as many things. Maybe you have amazing memory, some of you, but I know that from a lot of I have friends who are mature age students, and they find it incredibly hard to remember the words, but they're incredibly good at picking up on the patterns. So they have an advantage in looking at the patterns, and so it's a matter of playing on your strengths and working on your weaknesses. So if you know that you're good at picking up on patterns, then you can spend more time on the memorization side and less time on the patterns. And whereas for younger students, sometimes it's harder to recognise the patterns, and then that you're great at just rote learning 100 words a week, and it all just sits there. So try and look at it from both sides and take those together.
And also, if you're doing more than one language at a time, as you're going, compare the grammar and compare the vocab as well, and make a game out of it, see what's similar and what's not, and that way you're revising both languages at once as well. That's another good tip. And that's it. Patterns.
Oops, sorry.
Please.